Hello everybody, thank you so much for tuning into my channel. This video is going to go over how to create task cards using Google Forms, so taking your hard copy of task cards and how to upload those to a Google form. I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can have students submit it to, either completing the assignment all at once and having students submit for a grade, or having it check along the way. So this is a great thing for anyone that uses task cards, and we're just going to grab some task cards that I just have on file, and then I'm going to show you how I'm going to upload them into the Google form. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull up a new Google form, so that's kind of where you want to start at. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go in my Google Drive, and I'm going to create a new form. And I like to start it in there so that way it's where I want it to be kind of saved as. So in Google Forms you can edit a lot of the features, and I'm going to title this System of Equations Task Cards. And so if you have purchased something from like Teacher Pay Teachers, or if you just have task cards on hand, just make sure that you're following the regulations with that, and uploading them using their permission that they give you. Okay, so once you do that, you can have students say, please answer each of the following questions and make sure. So this particular one is going to be all type-in answers, and so I'm going to remind students that on Google Forms, when you do a type-in answer, there's a difference between like X space equals 5, or X no space equals 5. So I always tell them to make sure to have no spaces, and put, these are going to be order pairs around the order pair. Okay, so the first thing you always want to do on Google Forms is you want to ask them what their name is. I always do first name, just easier to grade once the grades come in. And then duplicate it. I'm going to put last name. You can have it collect email addresses. For my county, we don't have to because it automatically collects it they have to log in order to have access to it. And then I always put class period. And I'll change it to a drop down, and they can pick like first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. It just makes it easier if I was going to put this in the grade book. Okay. Once you kind of get that set up, it's nice to have a little header at the top of these, so you can add like an image. And so I'm going to take a second and I'm going to snag the copy of the title of this. Oops, that's not the good title. I guess I can just do this one. Just makes a little bit something to it. And for this particular one, we're going to be doing a lot of either using the snipping tool or we use Snagit. So I'm just going to let's pick one. Okay, so you can insert the image, so that way it puts like a nice, it's going to be down here, but you could put it back up here too. It just looks nice. It kind of like brings something to the presentation. So it's, of course, it doesn't have like a part of it, but it just makes it like pop a little bit when the kids are looking at it. It gives it a little something. Okay, so I'm going to title that. And just like in case you don't know anything about Google Forms, you can always hit the preview button, and it's awesome. You can check everything you do as you do it from the student end and how it's going to look to them. So I'm going to go ahead and go to settings, and I'm going to change this to a quiz. And there's like a lot of options. You kind of have to pick which you think would be best. You can have what can they see once they've submitted, missed questions, correct answer, point values. Usually I say which questions they missed, but I usually leave the correct answers off, but maybe it's just a class worksheet, so in that case they can see what the answers to the questions were. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is you're going to take your task cards that you currently have, and I'm going to drag them over here so y'all can see them. And these are just, again, this is like something I have from Teacher Pay Teachers. And you're just going to take your Snagit or snipping tool. I hit the print screen button, and I'm just going to grab each one of them. And then I'm just going to save each one separately. So I can save this as, we'll say, pick 2. And it's good to just do them back to back. And then you could use however many task cards. I mean, usually, right, task cards, especially if you purchase them, they come with a lot of cards. So maybe you're not using all of them. Okay. And just turn this down a little bit. We'll do these 4. And then I'll show you how to upload them on there. Okay, so let's just say I was going to use these 4. Okay, so once you get them saved, we can add those pictures into the Google form. Move my head out of the way. All right, so I'm in here. I'm just going to go down to the end. You can always, if you add something in a weird spot, you can always drag it later. So I can just add the image. That was pick 2. And there it is. And for this particular assignment, I'm going to have them do short answer. And the thing that's a little bit, always click required, frustrating is that you have to, in Google Forms, you have to flip back and forth from the answer key. So if, let's say you want this to be worth 1 point, you got to change it there, and I always forget that spot. And so for this one, I would type in, let me look at my key really quick. I'll just look at it over here. This is number 1. So the answer for this one is 0, negative, oops, 0. Let's do that. I'm clicking it too many times. 0, negative 4. And again, that's going to be a different answer than 0, with a space in between. So, if you want to add in all those options, you can. I usually just tell students in the front, and I try to refer them back to make sure that they put parentheses around it. So that way I don't have to type it in every single time. All right, so then you can hit done for this one. And that's pretty much it. And then you just repeat it with each card. So it's nice you can duplicate. And that'll save all the settings from the previous one. You click the 3 dots, and then you click on the change, and you can change out your photo from what it was to the second problem, and it just saves you a little bit of time doing that. And then this one, I'll change the answer key to -2, 1. See, I even want to put a space there. And then mark all answers incorrect. And so I'll do it 2 more times just to show you, but obviously it would depend on how long your task cards are, but you would just repeat it for each one. And it's a little bit of setup time, but what's nice about it is that there'll be 0 grading time, which is amazing. Even in class, sometimes, even if we go back to school, it saves a lot of time kind of checking papers, even for just classwork. Okay, so then this one, let me change the picture out to the last question. Okay, and then this one, it is -2. All right, so I always have students, because I'm math, attach their work at the end. So I usually have, if I'm doing a Google form, I'll have students attach it at the end, and they can do this file upload. And so this will let students attach a picture of their work. So please attach your work from this activity here by uploading a picture copy. Okay, and then you can change out, like, you know, how many files and like how much, because sometimes this can take a lot and they have to do that too. Okay, so that's it basically. I'm going to show you a couple other things. So slide, okay. So something that might be helpful for some students is, instead of seeing a long list of problems, maybe you have one problem on each page. So if I look at the way that it looks right now, this is, oh my God, an extra. So this is funny, you see these sometimes, because I must have at some point added an extra section, so I'm going to delete that. See, it's already being helpful. So if you click on this eyeball, you'll see first name, last name, class period, and then solve each question. So it'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, all the problems are on there, and then the end work. So you can see that it looks. So that doesn't look that bad because there's only 4 problems, but if you had like 15, it might be very overwhelming. So a way you can kind of get students to look at it one question at a time, or maybe 2 questions at a time, is you add a section. And you can drag anything to any section. So you can put it wherever you want, and moving things around. So that way, my head is in the way, it's bothering me. I can't see it. Like, I should have added it in a better spot, but I'll just drag all the stuff out of it. So let's say you just wanted, like, okay, the first section to just be name, and then class period. And then when you go down to the second section, you could even have a reminder about it, like, don't forget to use your spacing, or something like that. And so you could remind them to make sure that they don't put any spacing or commas or whatnot. And then you could add another section after that one, and then have the second problem, and then another section. I just want to show you what it looks like, because I think it honestly can be really helpful for some students to see problems this way. So it's like, as I drag stuff all over the place. Let's see, this is supposed to be in section 4, which is somewhere. There it is. It just helps, I think it helps them to kind of focus on one problem at a time. And so that would be kind of what that looks like. So when you go in here, and you could actually make them as you go, it looks like this. So they have to answer all of these things. Okay, let me just do this, like, whatever. I'll just pick like a class period. And then they go to the second question, and then they just are looking at one problem at a time. So they can answer this 5, 10, and then hit next, and then it would see the second section. And so I think a lot of our kids like that, because it kind of tracks them, and you're submitting something each time, so it kind of feels like you're doing a check off. Another different thing that you could do, if you thought it would be helpful, is that, so as it's set up, students would submit it, and then once they submit the assignment, it's done, so they could see like what they missed or whatever you had the original settings set to. What may be helpful is, especially if you're doing something maybe for the first time, or even if you're reviewing, honestly, this could be helpful, is allowing students to get checked off as they go that they're doing it correctly. So what I mean by that is, like, let's say they went and finished the first question, and the answer to that question is 0, -4. And let's say that they typed in like -40 or something. They got the intercept wrong. So, so what you could do is that if you click here on these 3 dots and you hit response validation, and that will allow you to give feedback if the student did not answer the question correctly. So you could do contains this one because if it's just numbers, you can leave it number, but for this one, because there's parentheses in it, I'm going to change it to text. And so you could type in either one of these options here. So there's like a lot of different options. So for this one, I would do text contains, and then I would type in the ordered pair. So for this answer, be 0, -4. And then if they didn't type that in, I would say, well, try again, or some kind of, or maybe, you know, like see your teacher, or take a second look. Or maybe even like, you know, math people, right? Check your work. Check your work, try again. Okay, so let's say that I do it like that. What that looks like is if you go to the preview button and we went to answer this question. I gotta like go back in here and answer all these. Okay. So if I answered the first one incorrectly, like I put like -4, 0. When I click off of it, it gives me this error message, check your work and try again. And so then, you know, they can maybe go back, and once they get it correct, it will let them move on to the next question. And so this is something that obviously in the end, if somebody submitted it, they would have gotten 100%, but it stops them from moving forward and submitting answers if they're not correct. So just an idea, be something that you could use within your own classroom. Okay, and I guess that's really it. So thank you for watching. I hope you got some value out of this, and you guys have a lovely day. Thank you.